Now, I've seen you be questioned about your natural status, and I talked to you about this before. I mean, Derek put the video out on you, and when Derek puts a video out, it obviously gets massive amounts of views and brings into a lot of questions certain things because he has his way of breaking things down, and some people like it, some people don't. I don't really have an opinion either way. I mean, he's a very smart individual. We know that. And I don't think he means harm when he does these video call outs or whatever you want to call them. But what did you ever do a response back to him that broke down your view on it or what you experienced? I saw you post pictures and explain like camera angles and things like that. And I thought that was very cool that you were so honest about it and that you're open about like cameras, because everybody has this way of manipulating their photos, and light does hit you a certain way and you're pumped a certain day. And one of those pictures, you looked a lot darker than the other picture. And that obviously offsets a lot of visibility in terms of vascularity or being cut. So what resulted from all of that, and what was the main thing that you really gained from that or learned from that experience?
Yeah, so I did do an in-depth analysis scrutinizing Derek's speculation that he propagated throughout the internet, and it became quite a prevalent hypothesis, a well-accepted one, right? And so the hypothesis was that my physique deteriorated because I started to lose my hair, and so I had to stop taking anabolic steroids in order to stop my hair loss. And so there are so many things that are wrong with this narrative. It's actually quite comical. My hair loss, it's completely genetic. My dad was balding in his early 20s, right? And the funny thing is that the deterioration of my physique that Derek used in this speculation was essentially a complete illusion, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, he used fairly misleading photo selection and pretty intentionally, right? So the before picture that he used was a perfect photo in perfect lighting and perfect circumstances, right? And then the after photo he used that looked worse than the before photo was a screenshot taken from a video in much less flattering circumstances, right? And so I can take photos from the same time periods to
Mm-hmm.
show a completely different story, right?
Right.
You can actually see an improvement or at least a maintenance of my physique. I mean, over this time period, I gained a little bit of muscle, maybe a tiny bit of fat too, but my physique looks no less formidable, right? So a physique can look dramatically different based on the circumstances in which you take the photo. And
Right.
I actually demonstrated this very early in my career. I did a 5-minute transformation where I went from looking like someone who doesn't even lift to a NPC physique, competitor level physique in literally 5 minutes by manipulating camera lighting, angles, a tan, a pump, right? And so, Derek originally propagated this narrative. He had the idea to do so because he saw comments that were saying, "Oh, Connor's physique is declining." It's not like he came up with it. The comments were actually saying it. And that was because I was just showing my physique in less flattering circumstances. I mean, my original videos were Omegle videos where I would
Right.
perfectly set up the lighting, the camera, and the angles. I would rub oil on myself. I would make sure I was always tan. I would use self tanner. And so my physique was always looking 100%. But then I started vlogging, and naturally, I also became
Right.
less insecure. I was more open to showing my physique in less flattering circumstances. And so people started to see that, and they started speculating, oh, his physique is deteriorating, right? When it actually just was never the case. I mean, there were points where, naturally sometimes you're going to be bulking, you're holding a little less, or you're holding a little more body fat, which might make your physique look less aesthetic, but I never lost any significant amount of size. And, I think Derek always kind of knew that this was a possibility in the back of his mind. He seemed to have to intentionally stretch the truth to propagate his narrative in the most convincing way, because he said, oh, his physique declined so rapidly, in just a couple months. Look at this dramatic physique transformation, right? Because if someone is discontinued anabolic steroids, you'd expect a fairly rapid deterioration in the physique when the photos he showed were actually 2 years apart. And so even if the physique did decline in the way that he promoted, I mean, that deterioration over 2 years is actually completely possible naturally if someone just, stopped working out as hard or stopped dieting as well. And so, yeah, there were all these fabrications in his story. And it's understandable, though, because people are attracted to negativity. Negativity seems to garner attention more than positivity. And a
Right.
physique deterioration story is certainly one that will cultivate a lot of views, and it certainly did, right? And so I understand why he said that. I'm still curious how much he actually believed his original narrative. I don't think that he believes his original narrative today, but I don't think he will ever admit it because that would cause him to lose some credibility, even though I would admire him more for admitting that he was wrong. But anyway, so yeah, that was very interesting. That certainly led to my views declining. I don't think it was entirely because of Derek's narrative, but certainly when the consensus of the internet decided that, oh, Connor Murphy's a fake natty, my content certainly lost some of the magic, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have led me to do what I'm doing now, right? And do what I'm so passionate about now, which is questioning the natural or not dichotomy, breaking down this idea of naturalness, talking about these gray area supplements. So it's
Yeah.
not like I have any animosity towards Derek. I think that everything is positive in the long run, but it was a very and is a very interesting experience. Yeah.
I admire that more than I can say, that turning any sort of what could be considered a negative into a positive. Because one thing in life, when you're able to do that, it says a lot about the person. When you don't just completely fold or give it, because a lot of people, if they were in your position, would have a meltdown. Seriously, with that amount of views and seeing a decline in your views and things of that nature. So I really find that very, very, very respectable, and I admire that a lot. So I just want to say that before I move on.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Did you and him ever talk? Obviously, probably not before. But did he ever talk to you or reach out, or you reach out to him, or anything of the sort, or was it just kind of the back and forth on the videos?
Yeah, I don't think we ever talked specifically about that narrative that he propagated on the internet. But later, we did discuss different things in the DMs. He sent me some supplements at one point. I tried his turkesterone and did a video on that. He showed me where to get some MK677. So we messaged via Instagram DMs, but I don't think we ever specifically discussed that original video that Derek did. But we have talked in the DMs, yeah.
Okay, cool.